All right, greetings all. Hope you are all doing well, enjoying our amazing bull market, which is pretty amazing. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Looks like we got a little bit more time ahead of us. I mean, whatever. I think we're going higher. But I wanted to talk to you today, just a real quick lesson about the RSI indicator. So, RSI is a popular way to determine momentum. The idea is that if the blue line is above the horizontal red line, that can be considered to be overbought. And if the blue line is below the lower red line, that is considered to be oversold. So these are default settings, right? Now, why are they the default settings? I don't know. I think the guy that invented this, or yeah, I guess invented is the right word. Wells Wilder, he uses as default settings. So let's think about this conceptually. In a sideways market is different than an up market and different than a down market. When a market is going higher, maybe sometimes you need to give yourself a little more leeway, I guess, for a lack of a better term. In other words, if AMD was just going sideways, well, maybe it would be overbought if the RSI got to 70. But when something is in an uptrend, you have to give yourself a little bit of flexibility because if you're trending higher, the overbought signals you get in a neutral market might be, if it's the same mathematically the same signal in a neutral market that you get in an up market, it may not be the same. Now, if we look at AMD here, well, it's got to 70 here, okay, and it wasn't overbought. It went higher. It got to 70 here, and it wasn't overbought, and it went higher. It got to 70 here. It wasn't overbought and went higher. Well, when you're in an up market, you have to give yourself some headroom on the upside. So, what we can do is we can go into these settings, and instead of having 70, let's just see what happens if we move what is considered to be overbought up to 75. Now, all of a sudden, let's actually even move it up a little bit higher. Let's just say 78. We'll have some fun, just like Bob Ross. I like to model my teaching on Bob Ross, uh, the way he paints. Love that Bob Ross, man. Anyway, now look at this. So we put the RSI upper line on 78. AMD gets to 78. Oh, it's overbought. AMD gets to 78. Oh, it's overbought. AMD gets to 78. Oh, it's overbought. All right. So sometimes you have to give yourself some flexibility and move your thresholds based on what the overall market is doing. Now, in a sideways market, maybe 70 is overbought for AMD. But in an up market like the one we've been in, well, I think the thing really kind of needs to get up to around 78 to be considered overbought. Now, as you can imagine, on the downside, the same phenomena applies. And we could look at United Health. Now, in a downwards market, you may need to give yourself some more room or to increase your threshold or whatever you want to call it on the downside. In a sideways market, maybe when something gets to 30 on the RSI, it is oversold. But when something is in a steep decline, you need to adjust a little bit or true it up a little bit. So here, look at this. United Health got to oversold all the way up here. And it was oversold all the way, down to there. And then it reversed. Here we got an oversold signal. It was irrelevant. The stock actually went up. Here, oversold, irrelevant. The stock actually went up. So in this situation, what we may want to do is go to the settings, the default settings, and give us some more room on the downside. And now let's just say we made RSI the settings to be, I don't know, 20 might be a little bit too far, but let's make it 25. So here, RSI gets to 25. I guess right about there. All right, let's tweak this a little bit more. I mean, you guys get what I'm saying. This obviously isn't a perfect example, but in a deep down market, RSI on here gets to 20, and that shows us to be oversold. And then guess what? We get the reversal. Here, we didn't get exactly to 20, but we got to like say 24. So in a downwards market like this, getting to 30 isn't oversold. It might need to get to 25 or so to be oversold. So just remember with the momentum indicators, you need to factor in, is this thing in the uptrend or a downtrend? Because you need to give yourself a little bit more room than you would if we were just in a sideways trend. All right. So I hope that helps. Generally speaking, the default settings for these indicators are pretty good. They all have them. We could just go look at a SPY here for the hell of it. But anyway, so the RSI, the indicators are, or the default settings are, overbought is at 70, oversold is at 30. Remember that it could be tweaked in depending on the market conditions. The time period is 14. So the RSI is measuring where we are now to where we were 14 time periods ago. Maybe if you're a short-term trader, instead of using an RSI that's looking at where we were 14 time periods ago, maybe you want to look at one that looks at where you are, say, 5 time periods ago. So default settings are generally good. If you trade a specific list or a small group of stocks or cryptos or whatever it is that you trade, you may want to spend some time tweaking your indicators, or I should say tweaking the settings on your indicators, because it may end up being quite beneficial. All right. Thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll see you soon.